wanted to show you what I do once I get a scanned project in here. This is my Leoquan mask, and I'm using Mesh Mixer. What you have here, this box represents the 3D printing surface, and what I have is a Creality Ender 3D Pro. And so what I do is, for this, it's not exactly set up right. So what I'm going to do in this video is set it up right and clean up some of these imperfections, such as this little bit of, um, I don't know why I scanned it, but it did. So we're going to clean it up. So first thing I'm going to do is put this object on the surface and just orient it better. What I'm going to do is go to the edit, transform, and then you get these things where you can rotate it. There we go. And it's a little bit on the difficult side to kind of use it, but I just want to be able to position it a little bit better. What I intend on doing is, after cleaning this up for a little bit, I'm going to put it on my Thingiverse page and give everybody access to it. You know, one of the coolest things I've done was scanning my Écorché anatomy study. I'm already using that in my next sculpture, and I'll be putting up a video shortly. That's really usable for sculptors. So I hope you guys get a 3D printer and really use it. So this is the Leoquan. So what do? Is you hit accept. That kind of finalizes. I know that it's not set up for my printer yet, but what I want to do is, you see all of these kind of imperfections. There's a sculpt mode, and I'm going to spend quite a few hours doing this, but I want to show you the best one that I've used. So it's the robust smooth, and I'm going to decrease the size. And for example, strength is up. I'm going to just do this really quick, and it cleans up a lot of the edges. And this sort of polygon model is, the way it scans it, it just puts vectors everywhere, little polygons, so it makes it very complex. And it does scan a lot of stuff, so you can see I'm getting rid of all of these little imperfections. Now, for this right here, it's a little bit different. I can do this and kind of get rid of it, but another way is, if you go under select, I believe it's select, you can kind of do this and just do that. And now that selects it. You can kind of look around, and then you can hit delete, but it will put a hole in it. But that's not that hard, because you can like clean it up. And if you click analysis, you can click inspector, for example, and it points to the things that are wrong in the 3D model. This is looking at it very mathematical. So if you want to do a flat fill or smooth fill, you can do auto repair all, small threshold. You can increase it. The working with these models is kind of graphic intensive, so it requires a lot of computing power, but this should work. So that is going to fill in that hole. So now we are just left with the major cleanup. And at this point, one of the things I like to do is, I like to bring up the real Leoquan mask and have it on my other screen while I try and sculpt it a little bit. But for right now, I'm going to spend a few hours just smoothing this out. Sculpture is also in a lot of art schools. I know that the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts in Philadelphia has got one. So, and for some reason, the scanner scans these kind of like rough spots. Also, keep in mind that when you scan it, when you scan something like this and then you print it, a lot of these imperfections do disappear. So you don't have to be that worried. But uh, it helps to have like a pen of some kind to do this, because this is quite tedious. And you still have to sculpt. You know, even though this is a 3D program, there's still quite a bit of sculpting involved. So I'm just going to hit it really, and then I'm going to come back to you guys, and we are going to be doing the next steps. Guys, I finished cleaning this up in Mesh Mixer, and it's a lot smoother. I don't like to add like some sort of blur I know that I can smooth things out, but now the next step, I don't really like using Mesh Mixer for the actual sculpting. There's things, for example, around the hair here. I might want to make an indication of the strands of the hair, and I think there's better software for this. You could use Mesh Mixer and just these tools, but I find that ZBrush works a lot better. So let's export this as an object and then take it to ZBrush. Here we are inside of ZBrush. It's a little bit hectic if you haven't used this, but it's also interesting. So, and they have different naming conventions for stuff, but what we want is simply to import. And when you import something, you just do file import in the tools, and here we go. Here's our mask. This is our 3D object, and I'm just going to put it here. And now I am going to switch this to the edit mode. And now I can begin to work on this. But if you look at it, it looks pretty darn good in ZBrush. And I think it's because of the material that it gives it. And the material, you can change the way it looks. Here's the chalk mode. Go into Chrome. There's this one. I believe that's the one I was using before. The reflective one. So it's kind of cool. You can see your object in various shades, and this lets you see the geometry pretty well. I'm going to stick with the original because it's got like this grunge look to it. And if you haven't used this before, I'm still new to this, so I make a lot of mistakes, but I'm just going to give you what you can do using this. This is your brushes. And for example, these are all the tools, move. So let's say I wanted to increase the size of the nose. I'll just go over here and I could give him a Gerard Depardieu style of nose. In a way, it's kind of cool. So I have the original Laocoon pulled up and I'm seeing a few more details that we can do. So for this, I think I'm going to let's start in the lips. Let's move in. And this is just an example of what you can do to make your models better. And the cool thing about 3D and scanning is that I can take this and just um, finesse it for a very long time. So I have my draw size, which is a little bit large. I'm going to decrease it. And since I'm still new at this, you have to be very gentle. So I'm going to try and make a depression here in the lips. You see that? Like usually we have a little bit of a division in the lips. And the problem with like these plaster casts is that often they become, after so many times reproduced, they become kind of bad. So it's a good idea to give it a little bit of the 3D modeling. So I'm just going to add that. You can start to see that if I hold shift, it goes into my smooth tool and I can decrease it, and you can see like I'm doing that a little bit. And the lips, let's see if I can make them a little bit sharper. A lot of times these plaster casts that I have, it just wasn't that good. I think I paid like $300 for it, and I'm going to make this available for everybody to download. So, and the reason is that if you're an artist, you want these things so you can get better at drawing. And this is probably the closest thing that a lot of people have for drawing a real life model because it's very expensive to hire a model, as you have probably have noticed. Depending on your computer, it could take a while because these are very complex files. You could make them smaller, remove vertices, and make them a lot easier to handle. But because it's a 3D scan, it scans all the little polygons. So here we go. You can see that this does not fit in here. And you have two ways of doing this. you can simply rescale this to fit. That's what I'm going to do. Or you can slice it up using Mesh Mixer and then bring in two parts and print in two parts. And you can see it almost fits. What it'll turn yellow once it is within the printable area for this specific printer. There we go. Just by rotating it and 50%, it manages to print it. So when it's like this, you're able to print it. So, and here we go. It's going to take a day, 19 hours, 31 minutes, and it's going to use 257 grams. So pretty cool. And that's pretty much it. The next step is putting it on Thingiverse. So I put it up on Thingiverse. You guys can find it here. Sculpts thing 5713134. I'll put it in the description below. But these things are always really good to print out, and they look really great on the wall. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.